The HOKA Transport is the only shoe HOKA makes specifically for walking. Not the Clifton, not the Bondi, these are running shoes that people use for walking. And the original Transport was one of the best walking shoes that we reviewed, but it did have real problems. The toe box was too narrow, the heel collapsed when you tried to slip into it, and the ride wasn't quite as stable as it could have been. So the real question is, have HOKA fixed these problems with the Transport 2? Because if they have, it could quietly become one of the best walking shoes on the market. In addition to that, we're also going to compare the Transport to the very popular On Cloudtilt, which is On Cloud's most popular walking shoe. So the real reason that this shoe exists is that walking shoes should be built completely differently than running shoes. Most brands just tell people to walk in their running shoes, and that works until you walk in them for hours or you have to stand in them for long periods of time. Because walking shoes need certain things that running shoes don't have. They need greater durability, better grip on wet surfaces, stability when you're tired, comfort for standing, and convenience for daily life. The original Transport tried to resolve all these problems as an everyday all-in-one shoe. City, work, travel and trails, and in many ways it did work, but HOKA clearly went back and tried to refine the formula with the Transport 2. And the first change that you notice before you even take a step in the shoe is the heel on it. Now this sounds small, but it's one of the biggest updates that you'll notice. So it's now taller, more rigid, and therefore it doesn't collapse when you try to slip into it. And that was a really frustrating part of the original Transport, as it has these toggle laces which are built for convenience, but you couldn't just quickly slip into it like you can in some other shoes. Now with this new design on the Transport 2, it's very similar in terms of looks and feel to the Skechers Slip-In, and that makes a lot more sense, so you can just grab it, slip into it without needing to think about it. But the biggest complaint in the original Transport wasn't the heel, it was in the forefoot, and that was to do with the toe box shape, which was really narrow and really tapered, which is a problem that HOKA have with a lot of their shoes. It made it less ideal for bunions, Morton's neuroma, or those of you who generally just have a wider foot. So HOKA have clearly listened, and they have made this a wider toe box shoe. It is slightly wider around the ball of the foot, but it does still taper after that, so those of you with a wide foot, you may need the wide version of this shoe. So that makes it a better option for longer periods of time on your feet, more accommodating in the toe box, but the moment you start walking in this, you notice something significantly different as well. The midsole feels more cushioned, but it's not too mushy and unstable. So you will feel like you're a little bit higher off the ground than what we saw on the original Transport, but the cushioning feels relatively similar in terms of softness. So that's great in terms of all-day comfort, but having a higher stack does compromise the stability a little bit. They've counteracted this with some sidewalls on around the heel, which is where the midsole comes up, wraps around your foot, and a rigid heel counter, which is where it wraps around your ankle, trying to control those pronation moments when you initiate contact with the ground. But those of you who prefer a lower ground contact feel, you may prefer the original Transport. And there's another reason why they're very different underfoot, and that's the forefoot rocker and the toe spring in the Transport 2. So you can see that it curves up more aggressively in the Transport 2, and it's extremely stiff in the Transport 2 compared to the original Transport. That offers a lot of protection to the forefoot in terms of the amount of cushioning underneath your foot and the stiffness and a slightly wider toe box. So if you have issues with hallux rigidus, big toe arthritis, or metatarsalgia, you might prefer the Transport 2. But they've also changed the heel bevel, so it's flatter on the Transport 2 compared to the original Transport. If you preferred a more flexible shoe that would transition nicely from the back to the front of the shoe, so you could just move for ease, the original Transport was great for that. The Transport 2, it feels like it's very flat across the heel and the midfoot, and then a very aggressive forefoot rocker that tilts you forward. Really good for extra protection, but some of you may not enjoy that sensation that you really got and really benefited from in the original Transport. However, if you're someone who needs stability around the back of the shoe, in the midfoot you have some balance issues, when you initiate contact with the ground, you may prefer the new Transport 2. Now both shoes still come with the Vibram Mega Grip underneath the shoe, with some lugs to give you traction on wet terrain. The Vibram is brilliant at wet rocks, wet slabs. It also is an excellent option if you move on to lighter trails, so mud, gravel or forest ground. You're getting traction, no slippage underneath. It's the best on the market when it comes to grip. So who is the Transport 2 for, and who doesn't it work for? It's the perfect shoe for travel, commuting, long days on your feet, city walks and light trails. It is a bit of an everyday do-it-all shoe, It offers lots of protection in the forefoot for those who need it, but it won't suit everyone. Those of you who prefer a better ground contact feel, a more flexible forefoot, and a more natural toe box like we see in the Ultra series, then you should look towards something like the Ultra Experience Flow 2, which is one of our highly recommended shoes of 2026. We'll pop a link to it in the description below. However, the Transport 2 does a lot of good things. Some of you might prefer the original Transport, but how do these shoes compare to the On Cloudtilt? Well, the On Cloudtilt is convenience and softness and cushioning personified. You have them speed laces, you have the slip-in nature of the shoe, so it's extremely convenient. The cushioning is much softer than what we get in both Transports, so you sink into it a lot more. It's more focused on that plush, pillow-like feel, whereas the Transports are more structured in terms of how the cushioning is formatted. The toe box is also tapered on the Cloudtilt, so it's not ideal for those of you with a wider fit. It doesn't have as good a lockdown in the heel and the midfoot, even though it comes with a classic lacing structure if you want to replace the speed lacing. So if you're looking for a more structured shoe overall, the Transport 1 and 2 are the winners here. If you're looking for convenience and comfort, the On Cloudtilt. If you're looking for a shoe for shorter walks, the On Cloudtilt is excellent for that, but I never really use it beyond 5k because it just doesn't have the stability features that we see in the Transport shoes. If you're looking for a longer distance walking shoe that you can use for city walks and take it out into the forest or onto mixed woodlands during the weekends, then the HOKA Transport 2 is an excellent option. The abrasion resistant Cordura upper does an excellent job at providing protection to your foot, giving you a durable upper, and it's also water repellent treated as well. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. We have a monthly newsletter with updates on our latest reviews and updates on what shoes are for sale. For instance, we'll talk about the Transport versus the Transport 2 and let you know which ones are available at a better price at the moment. Links are in the description below. Otherwise, if you have any questions on the shoes, drop them in the comment section below. Links for them are in the description if you want to check out the latest price on Amazon. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching.